Then you actually just disagree with medical consensus
Yes,
within the
I
Western
disagree.
nation.
Yes, I disagree with the false medical consensus driven by politically driven, quote unquote, doctors. If any doctor denies to me that there is a dichotomy between male and female, a sexual dichotomy between male and female, they are ignorant and they are letting their politics get in the way of their science. Anybody who suggests to you that there is such a thing, for example, as a pregnant male is not a doctor, they are an activist.
Did Ben Shapiro just call out the entire medical establishment as fake? In 30 seconds, he just declared war on doctors, universities, and every medical journal in America. This isn't just political commentary, this is full-scale intellectual warfare. And when someone with Harvard Law credentials starts dismantling the experts, you know we're about to witness something explosive. But this medical bombshell, it's just the tip of the iceberg of Ben's systematic demolition of woke culture.
The religious nature of wokeness is incredible. It is a substitute for religion. People are filling a God-shaped hole in their hearts with performative virtue signaling. And what the virtue signaling is really designed to do in the end is to separate you off from the non-believers.
Ben just cracked the code. Wokeness isn't politics. It's a religion, complete with original sin, white privilege, confession, public apologies, and excommunication, cancel culture. Americans instinctively recognize cult behavior, and Ben's laying it out like a roadmap. The God-shaped hole line hits deep because it explains why wokeness feels so fanatical. It literally is fanatical, and like any good cult, it has an ever-changing doctrine that keeps followers confused and dependent.
It's got a nearly impenetrable code. The code is constantly changing. It is constantly moving. You have no idea what the standard is from day to day. But that code is brought to you by a priestly caste of really intelligent and woke people who will be able to absolve you of sin so long as you listen to everything they say. There is an intermediary. We have heard over the past 48 hours a few things. Well, past, I would say several years, but really exacerbated in the last 48 hours. We have heard that speech is violence. So if I say something you don't like, I have enacted violence upon you. I used to hear this when I would speak at college campuses. People were literally chanting speech is violence when I spoke at UC Berkeley. Also, silence is violence. So if you don't speak, that's a form of violence. So if you do speak and we don't like it, that's violence. If you don't speak, that is also a form of violence. So America has now adopted tap dancing, apparently.
Here's the genius of the woke system. You can never win. Talk and you're violent. Stay silent and you're also violent. It's like a rigged casino where the house always wins. Ben's exposing the psychological manipulation. Keep people confused, keep them apologizing, keep them dependent on the intermediary to interpret the rules. It's not about justice, it's about control. And who are these intermediaries? Ben names names?
There is an intermediary between you and wokeness. The intermediary is fairly obvious. Right? It is all the members of the New York Times editorial board. It is all the people who tweet angrily on Twitter. It is your late night host. But even they have intermediaries. They have to call in some of their black friends, as we saw on all of the late night TV shows last night, in order to interpret blackness for them so that they can absolve themselves of their own white privilege.
Brutal. Ben just called out the New York Times as the high priests of wokeness, wealthy white elites telling everyone else how to think about race. The irony is suffocating. The most privileged people in America lecturing working families about privilege. Ben's not just making a political point, he's exposing a class-based con game where Manhattan elites sell absolution to guilty white liberals. And if you don't follow their doctrine, prepare for the sacrificial ritual.
It's got sacrificial rites, right? People who are bad, who do not mouth the proper catechism are immediately destroyed. And there's no forgiveness. And there's no forgiveness.
No forgiveness. Let that sink in. Christianity offers redemption. America was built on second chances. But wokeness? One wrong word and you're finished forever. Ben's identifying something truly un-American about cancel culture. It's more ruthless than any religion in history. At least the Inquisition let you repent. And this ruthlessness extends to the most basic questions about reality itself.
Here's my question. It's an argument that my friend Matt Walsh likes to make. What is a woman? Define what a woman is without reference to the word woman, please. Sex and gender are two different concepts, but gender is tied to biology. So one of the big problems that you see in sort of the argument in favor of trans rights is this notion that gender and sex are completely separable. They're not completely separable. If they are completely separable, then this means that identifying people by their subjective gender really has no relevance as to whether they are a male or a female.
This is where Ben delivers the knockout punch. The simplest question in human history: what is a woman? And they can't answer it. Not won't, can't. Because their entire worldview crumbles if they admit that words have meaning and biology exists. When you can't define woman, man, mother, or father, you're not progressive. You're just confused. Which brings us to the corporate pandering that's driving normal Americans insane.
Ford has decided for Pride Month, they're going to release a rainbow Ford F-150. again, rainbow wheel rolling over a human face forever. And Ford's F-150 brand is supposed to be the manly men.
A rainbow F-150. Let that image marinate. Ford, the company that built America, now thinks truck buyers want rainbow paint jobs. This isn't about inclusion, it's about virtue signaling to Twitter while insulting their actual customers. Ben's highlighting the absurdity. Corporations lecturing their own buyers about values while chasing ESG scores from Wall Street. But here's what makes all of this so dangerous.
Religion of wokeness suggests a bunch of conflicting things, and the only way to avoid the conflict is to just listen and repeat. Listen and believe. Right? That's the basic idea here.
Listen and repeat. That's not education, that's indoctrination. Ben's exposing the totalitarian heart of wokeness. Don't think, don't question, just obey. Americans fought a revolution to escape this kind of intellectual tyranny. Now it's coming from our own universities and corporations, wrapped in the language of progress.
Here is the thing. A lot of members of the left are starting to realize that wokeness is destroying America, which is why of late you've seen some conversations about how you're not supposed to use the term wokeness, which is weird since they made it up. And so I'm fine with using the term wokeness. I intend on continuing to use that word. It is their fault that it became a poisonous word, not mine. It's because the idea is incredibly stupid.
And there it is. After all the complex analysis, Ben lands on the simple truth. It's stupid. Not misguided, not well-intentioned. Stupid. Sometimes the emperor really has no clothes, and it takes someone with Ben's credentials to say what everyone's thinking. Wokeness isn't failing because of messaging or tactics. It's failing because it's built on lies.
If the idea here, and as we'll see, this is the idea. If the idea is that if you don't greenlight rioting and looting, that if you say that rioting and looting should be stopped, if you believe that America is actually an incredible, wonderful place, and the story of America is a story of tremendous founding principles, an unchallenged good philosophy that was failed by Americans for centuries, but the story of America is the perfection of our behavior in accordance with original ideals. So the story of America is America getting better in accordance with founding ideals. If you believe that's the case, then you are to be thrown out. And as we'll see, this is actually what is happening to people, right? If you say that America is a good place and the flag is good, you will now be called out as not being sufficiently woke, and you will be called racist.
Ben Shapiro didn't just critique wokeness. He performed an intellectual autopsy. He showed us the religious structure, the impossible rules, the elite gatekeepers, the cancel culture sacrifices, and the corporate pandering. Most importantly, he reminded us that we don't have to pretend obvious lies are profound truths. The question isn't whether wokeness will collapse. It's how much damage it'll do on the way down. Ben's giving us the roadmap to fight back, call out the lies, name the gatekeepers, and refuse to play their rigged game. What do you think? Is Ben right that wokeness is a substitute religion, or is there something deeper going on? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button if this opened your eyes, and subscribe because this intellectual war is just getting started.